You're watching this Roots TV special. April 14 marks the anniversary of the Bring Back Our Girls. 5 years of this campaign asking for girls, women who've been abducted by Boko Haram terrorists to be brought back home. How far? How many girls have been brought back? What is the effectiveness of this campaign and what needs to be done to bring home our girls? To have this conversation, I have members of the BBOG here in the studio, starting with Maureen. Maureen is a member of the BBOG, and we have had many interactions concerning this particular issue. Maureen Kabruk, welcome.
Thank you, Gloria.
Edith Yasin, welcome to Roots TV Nigeria.
Thank you.
And of course, Aisha Yesufu, a regular person we have spoken to on many occasions concerning the plight of this young women. Welcome.
Thank you.
5 years it has been. And the question is, how far? How many girls have been brought home? What is the effectiveness of this campaign? I want to start with you, Aisha, because you're very vocal on this matter and a lot of people associate your face with this BBOG campaign.
Well, it's 5 years. It's unbelievable that we're here. On Sunday, it will be exactly 5 years since 276 Chibok girls were abducted. Right now, we have 107 that were rescued from the 219. So going back, 276 were abducted, 59 escaped, 57 escaped on their own. Then there were 219 that were in abduction for over 2 years before one person was found. And then out of the 219, we have 107 that have come back, and there's still 112 out there with the terrorists waiting and yearning to come back home. Their crime, they simply wanted to be educated.
Do you think these girls are going to come back? I mean, let's be realistic. 5 years. Some of them are no longer like girls. Some of them probably have ended up becoming their wives, integrated into the cells. Do you think these girls can come back, Edith?
Well, survival is key. For out of 112 that we're expecting, those that are still with the terrorists, I believe that to stay alive, they must do what you have just mentioned. They must integrate into this group that has taken them captive. And I believe if you're smart, you want to survive. You want to stay alive. You want to come out of it alive. So yes, they might have integrated, but that would not be the end game. That should not be the end game for Nigeria, for Nigerians. We need closure on this issue. If those girls were taken while they were in school under the care of a government, then there's a government in Nigeria that owes it to the people of Nigeria to bring closure to this issue. And this 112 girls, no matter how far they have integrated for the purpose of survival, must be brought back, and we must account for them.
Maureen, do you think these girls are still alive? I mean, I don't know, have you spoken, do you have any information as to their health, their welfare, and if they're still alive, the number's still alive, anyone who's died, or the circumstances around that? Do you have any of that information?
The government hasn't told us otherwise. The government has all the information that we as citizens are not privy to. So we want to believe that 112 Chibok girls are still alive, because the government has not told us they're dead. And if anything has happened to any of our Chibok girls, the government of Nigeria, who, irrespective of who is occupying that office, owes it to, first and foremost, the parents. And then to us citizens, to let us know that these girls are no longer alive, and with proof that indeed they are no longer alive. So as far as we're concerned, Bring Back Our Girls, 112 Chibok girls are still alive. The government has not said otherwise.
The issue of Boko Haram is a very complex matter. This administration has been fighting terrorism. One moment we hear they're winning, another moment we're hearing reports that they're either taking territories or invading one town or the other. This is getting more complex as the days go by. If you do equate this to the girls they have taken, the Chibok girls and other girls they have been taking in the course of this 5 years, do you see a possibility of this abating at all? Or do you think more would be taken and there's a feeling of helplessness? Aisha?
Well, the fact is that when people do certain things, when criminals act or terrorists they act, and we do nothing, it emboldens them. And it tells them that they can go on and take any Nigerian from anywhere. Nothing would happen. We saw what happened with Buniyadi, the same repeat of Chibok girls. You know, Chibok issue was what happened in Buniyadi. And over time, we have seen a lot of Chibok happening in different places where we have even criminals, terrorists, bandits, you know, coming in to abduct people. It's simply because the Nigerian state is upset. It is not there for the people. And what people do not realize is that as long as Chibok girls are in captivity, we all are in captivity. There's no, it's their business, it's all our business. And if we do not do anything, ensure that the government understands that its primary responsibility is the protection of lives and properties. And it must do that for every Nigerian. At Bring Back Our Girls movement, we say that no Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. The same way you treat the life of the president is the same way you treat the life of every citizen.
Do you think it's time for international intervention in terms of military to come into this? Because, you know, when this Bring Back Our Girls was at the forefront, we even had Michelle Obama at the moment even advocating for these girls to come back. International attention was a lot. International media, you know, what even in Nigeria to report this, but nothing happened. But do you think with the spate of kidnappings of young women and other people in this country, look at banditry going on and escalating, do you think it's about time we involved international or foreign security agencies to help?
Well, it would depend on what the Nigerian government wants. If you don't ask for help as a sovereign nation, no other nation is going to come and impose whatever they think is the solution to your problem on you. You must seek this help. Okay, let's look at the multinational joint task force. How well have we handled that? It seems that every time, from everything I have read in all the reports, it seems that every time we take 2 steps forward, then there's something happens in Nigeria where the main war is that takes the whole mission 1 step back. There have been sackings in Niger Republic over some things that have happened, which similar things have happened in Nigeria, but those in charge are still staying put. You understand what I'm saying? So it seems like the problem is on the Nigerian territory, and the command and control would naturally be on the Nigerian territory. But what does the Nigerian government want? It depends. If you're not crying loud enough and saying we need help to sort this out, as a sovereign nation, any intervention would be seen as what? Invasion
of some sort.
If we're going to take a cue from the multinational joint task force for the Northeast, and what are the outcomes? I mean, the variables are not encouraging. So there's not going to be any foreign intervention unless Nigeria asks for it.
We just went through an election. Interestingly, I didn't see Bring Back Our Girls. I didn't hear Bring Back Our Girls at the forefront of campaign manifestos of, I don't even know how many candidates even talked about it. Would you say you did enough? I know you worked with a presidential candidate, you were affiliated to a presidential candidate, but do you think you did enough to bring this topic to the fore for the presidential candidates to integrate it into their manifestos enough for even the Nigerian citizens to look at it as a criterion for voting any candidate? Do you think the BBOG did?
Yeah, we did that. We as strategic team members of the Bring Back Our Girls group, we had to step down, you know, so that there won't be conflict of interest when we went to work with Dr. Obi's obviously on her campaign, you know. So, but we ensured that at every time that we were out there, you know, talking about the issues, you know, talking about what Nigerians should make, you know, the demand Nigerians should make on all of these candidates, the Chibok girls were still key on our issues. You know, we had said we're never going to go away. We had said that, you know, until we get closure on the issue of these Chibok girls. So having been out there also campaigning, we ensured that, you know, we talked about the Chibok girls, not just the Chibok girls. There's Leah Sharibu.
Yes, of course.
That is yet to be accounted for. There are 5 girls whom we were told died in the process of this abduction of the Dapchi girls. The government still hasn't said anything about those 5 girls. They are still unaccounted. There is Alice Ngada, who was a humanitarian aid worker that was abducted alongside 2 of her other colleagues, whom sadly were brutally executed. And the Nigerian state was silent about that. We ensured we talked about the issues. My call today is to charge Nigerians to ensure that we don't go to sleep. We have this attitude of always just walking away from the issues. And reason why the people who come out to ask for our votes think they owe us nothing. Think they just can come and just speak to you about, oh, we'll provide you with boreholes, we'll give you light, and that's the end of it. No, we must go beyond just the rhetorics. There must be this demand that we must place on those who are seeking political office. Today is day 1,823. of Chibok girls' abduction. And this group has been campaigning relentlessly every day for day 1,808. We haven't stopped. So that's to let you know that even while we were on the campaign, there was no way we would have put, though we were not attending the sit-outs because, like we said, we had stepped down to avoid conflict of interest, but we ensured that we carried that message along with us. This current administration used the Chibok girls for campaign. All over Nigeria, they campaigned on the issue of Chibok girls. But what do we have today? Silence is all we get. That they brought back 103 girls doesn't mean that the lives of the other 112 should not matter. Every life must matter, whether you live in Zamfara, whether you live in Southern Kaduna, whether you live in Benue, whether you live in Jos, Taraba, anywhere that you are as a citizen of Nigeria, your life must matter, and our lives must be made to be seen as indeed that thing that must matter to government of Nigeria.
Aisha, this thing has been really politicized a lot. You have to agree. The Bring Back Our Girls, it was very intense, 5 years, 4 years ago. But afterwards, a lot of people even started thinking maybe this was just another political campaign against the government. When you hear things like that, which I'm sure you must have heard, what is your response as the BBOG campaign?
The Bring Back Our Girls movement was never, ever politicized. People want to take what they want to think in their own way because they do not want to take responsibility. It is easier for those who have not shown empathy towards our Chibok girls to say, oh, we didn't come out because the movement might be doing ABC. No, they are not taking responsibilities, and that's why. Chibok girls, we owe them our empathy, and because of the social contract we have with our government, we had to come out to demand. And when we come out to demand for our Chibok girls, we are not doing them a favor. We're only doing that which is right. It is not a privilege for Chibok girls to be rescued. It's their right as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that's it. When the Bring Back Our Girls movement came out, it came out 15 days after the abduction. There was silence. It took 19 days before the former president, spoke on the issue of Chibok girls. And so Nigerians wanted to move on. And a group of Nigerians said, no, we cannot move away. We have to stand on it. On the day we came out to protest, April 30th, 2014, it was supposed to be a one-day protest. Everybody will go away. But on that day, one of the leaders knelt down in the rains and said, please do not go away. If you go away, this issue will be swept off like we normally do in Nigeria. And that's how the movement started. And we started coming out every day. Bring Back Our Girls movement is a non-partisan movement. It is administration neutral. It doesn't care who is there, whoever you are. As long as you're the leader of Nigeria, Bring Back Our Girls movement, we hold you responsible because it is the duty of the government to protect lives and properties. In Chibok girls, it failed. And the next best thing that was supposed to have been done was to have them rescued immediately. And that for 112 girls, it's 5 years now. And so it was never about politics. Some have issues and will say to us, oh, but one of you got a political appointment. Excuse us? I am a market woman. I have warehouses where I sell my goods. When I started Bring Back Our Girls movement, I did not close down my warehouse. She has always been a politician. Hadiza Bola Usman is a politician, and she even ran for a House of Rep to be a House of Rep member under CPC, and she lost. And of course, politicians do what they do. We had people from APC, PDP, other political parties within BBOG. BBOG is a movement where diverse people, different educational level, different economic status, different ethnicity, different religion. We all came together for one purpose. Our singular purpose was bring back our girls. Girls that went to school to get education were abducted and they needed to come back home. So it was never about politics, and it still isn't about politics. Another thing that people talk about, we have never been sponsored. Nobody has ever given any BBOG member nothing based on the movement. No. We said we were going to put our empathy where our money is, and we were going to put our money where our empathy is, and that was what we did. We are self-funded movement, and that's the reason why we are still staying 5 years on 1,808 days. People have come out every day to campaign for girls that were taken away. We might not have carried them in our wombs, but we carry them in our heart. They are our children.
That's powerful. Let's talk about their mothers, their parents. Are you in contact with them? Do you have fora where you're able to talk to them? Because I mean, with the fact that the federal government really doesn't give a lot of information, I can't imagine what these people go through every day, not knowing, not hearing. Do you talk to these women, Edith?
Well, while the strategic team stepped away to go do partisan politics, I had to stand in the gap. And while I was doing that, Sefra Ahmed and Hawa Lehman were executed. And one of the things I had to do was call Hawa Lehman's mom after Hawa Lehman was executed. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. It's terrible. It's terrible. She was in shock. She was in denial. She refused to believe. She kept saying that's not her daughter, the picture going around. And this is basic behavior. 5 years down the road, some of the parents have had strokes. The stronger women in this group have broken down. I will tell you that the last time I saw Dorcas's mom, and that's Maida. Boko Haram, they call her Maida, and they make her speak up when they want. Dorcas's mom is a very strong woman. She stood in the gap. Her husband was broken, but she was still standing. She was still vocal. She was still demanding, and that was what kept her alive. But at a point in time, she broke too. And now, she just does not look well. She just does not look well. And you know what? The thing is, when Chibok happened, we pleaded for a Chibok desk. This is standard procedure anywhere in the country. When a tragedy happens and there's a large number involved, you set up a center where people can interact, where people who have this common grief can come together and do a support group or anything. The government refused consistently to set up this Chibok desk. Had they set up that desk, this would have been a place where people will come and there will be information, and it will also be a model, because several other tragedies have happened in Nigeria and it's still the same thing, blank, no information, no interaction with the parents of those who have been taken or those who are aggrieved. Why do we continue like this? Because the value of one Nigerian, we still have not yet agreed on what is the value of the life of a single Nigerian. One in a village in Zamfara, or one in a village in Chibok, or one in a village in Plateau State, somewhere in Barkinladi. What is the value of that one life? We still haven't put a value on that, and that is where the problem lies.
And this is quite painful, to be quite honest with you, because even as a parent, I can't even imagine what their parents are going through. It's unbelievable. Anyways,
let me just add to what she has said. There was, at the end of the day, there was a desk that they did set up. They called the Chibok Girls Desk, but it was just on paper, the government on paper. But after repeated demands from us, they did put something together, but it never worked. Even the phone lines never went through. And so just to add,
what is the plan for the anniversary? Do you have a plan? Do you have a series of events?
Lagos family have their events lined up also on April 14th. We also have the same on April 14th at the Unity Fountain. We're inviting members of the press whom have kept faith with us on this journey. We couldn't have been able to do it alone without the press, and we must appreciate the Roots TV. You guys have been holding the line for us too, and putting our messages out there and ensuring that the world never forgets our Chibok girls. April 14th, we're going to have an event in commemorating this 5 years of abduction. What haven't we done? When we were at the fountain last week to discuss what should we do to commemorate this 5 years, because we had introduced this inaugural lecture that we hold every April 14th. And one of us, he's Nifemi, young man, of whom, it makes me so proud that a young man in his 20s is that dedicated to a cause like this, where his mates are busy just, driving their father's big cars and just going all over the place and not minding whether, we're alive or dead, And this young man is so dedicated to this cause. And he said, when we were all asked to bring in contributions as to what we think we should do, what else is there that we can do differently? And he said he went as far back as when this movement started. All our statements, everything, pictures, everything that we have done in the past. And he realized, gosh, we've done everything. What is there to do again? Like, what are we going to do that would make this government understand that there are 112 plus more citizens out there? So we have come up with, something really that we think we would symbolize the 112 Chibok girls on that April 14th. And when you come there, you would see what it is exactly that we're going to do. But let me add to what my colleagues here said. in terms of, the attitude of the government and towards the parents and, where most of them are now. One thing I must say, as Aisha always says, if there's anything that is a crime, that is now officially a crime in Nigeria, is to be poor. To be poor in Nigeria has officially gotten a tag of you being seen as a criminal, because it is a crime. Once you're poor, you get arrested for doing nothing. You get thrown into jail for doing nothing. Nobody cares whether you are alive or dead. Nobody cares what happens in your space. Because I bet you, if these girls that we're taking, 276 girls that we're taking from a regent school, we're taking from one, very American international school, where the children of the who is who attend, there's no way they would have spent 48 hours with Boko Haram. The past ex-presidents then will not have sat down in the villa and be discussing whether or not these children were actually taken or not. So when you spoke about if this whole issue is about politics, they played politics. The leadership of 2014 played politics with the lives of these innocent girls, all because they are poor. And when you're poor, as Aisha Yusufu would say, you're voiceless, you're nameless, and you're faceless. So as far as they were concerned, those lives didn't matter. And that's what Auntie Edith said. What value are we going to fight? And this is what her fight is all about in Bring Back Our Girls. That every life must matter. Be it the life of that poor child in Zamfara, or the rich man's child that is sitting in the villa in the name of Zara Buhari. That whatever premium is placed on Zara Buhari's life, it must be placed on the lives of the children that are living in the hinterlands and in the villages. We cannot afford today to have two sets of rules in this country, one for the rich and one for the poor. There must be one rule placed on each and every one of us, and that rule is that every life must be valued, every life must matter. And so we will continue to hold this administration responsible. As you said, we're administration neutral. We will hold them responsible for the lives of 112 Chibok girls whose crime is being poor, whose crime is that they wanted to be educated, and the lives of all those who are in captivity and all those who are being killed today all over the country. And we have a president who sits down and does nothing, who feels his silence is good enough for him to just be okay and let citizens burn, let citizens die. Today we are making that call to President Muhammadu Buhari, that he must take responsibility. His primary responsibility as president is the protection of lives of citizens and properties. He made that vow May 29, 2015. He's going to take another vow May 29, 2019. And he must act as that person that said he would lead from the front. Right now he's sleeping in the villa. And we've had enough of him not rising up to be a responsible leader. Some say he's a grandfather. I had a grandfather, even though he's not alive anymore, but I knew how responsible my grandfather was. I knew how anytime we go to the village, he would leave his hut to go into the bush to get bush meat for us, to get all kinds of things that he would bring around us so we could all sit down, eat, and be merry. I don't see that grandfather acting like the grandfather that he should be today to all of us as citizens of this country. So I make that call today that President Muhammadu Buhari, it's time to act. It's time to be a president. It's time to be a commander-in-chief of the armed forces of this country. And today also we call for the sack of the entire service chiefs, because they have failed. They have failed to rise up to their responsibilities. They have failed to act for so long. This same three people, Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, and Chief of Air Staff. The Chief of Air Staff is even trying. But Chief of Army Staff, in the name of General Burutai, should have been sacked long time ago. He has failed and failed. President Muhammadu Buhari has had to renew their term or their tenure or whatever on the basis of what did he do that they are working or they are making anything happen differently. Why is he still keeping them? Why are they still there with all the level of insecurity we're having? They said they were going to build a command center in Maiduguri, yet they all sit down in Abuja here and give commands from Abuja, where our troops are being killed like animals every day. Today that call is being made again, that those service chiefs, it is time for them to go. And those who are capable and those who can should be given the responsibility of protecting citizens, poor and rich.
Thank you so much, Maureen. I mean, that was a very passionate plea, not just from Maureen, but from all of you. I mean, when you were talking about the parents, I could see the grief. And of course, Aisha, you've carried this for a very long time. 5 years it has been. Who can imagine the pain, the burden their families are dealing with, not even knowing if this is the end or there'll be another 5 years of waiting, God forbid. And then it is the responsibility of every Nigerian, wherever you are, to also lend a voice to this, because these are people's children. And it could be yours. It could escalate. These parents never saw it coming. No parent, no family member ever sees this coming. As the BBOG Bring Back Our Girls campaign celebrate 5 years, is not celebration, marking 5 years. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call to this administration to do more. And of course, on Sunday, that is 3 p.m. Unity Fountain here in Abuja. You say Lagos already has their own plan. So wherever you are, wherever you are in the country, I mean, on social media, I'm sure a lot of things will be going on. So even if you can't be in Abuja or Lagos or any of those meeting points, you could also lend your voice on social media. A big thank you to you, Maureen, Edith, and Aisha. Thank you so much. And you've been watching Roots TV Nigeria. Please give us your comment on the comment section of this video. My name is Gloria Oje Emode.